Good evening, everyone. This is Smith Roy, a second year undergrad student from NIT Agartala. Welcome to our fifth session on the topic cloud computing, a very interesting topic with numerous applications in our daily lives, which has firmly instilled its demand in the tech industry. Let's jump into this ardent session without any wait. Do you know the key characteristics of cloud computing? What are the daily life applications of cloud computing? Why should we be informed of them? What are the sources and the prerequisites to get started with cloud computing? Don't worry. Let's clear all your doubts in a bit. Thrilled to know who the guest is? Today, we have a versatile person with us who is very interested in cloud computing and has been establishing his sturdy impression in the field of cloud computing. He is Mr. Adnan Shaikh, an electronics and telecommunication engineer, an impatient learner, a mentor, and an advisor. He has completed his internship at Linux World as a Google Cloud Platform trainee, a hybrid cloud computing trainee, and a Red Hat Ansible trainee. Currently, he is working as a system support engineer at Allscripts. He has explored multiple tools and technologies, yet is more interested to know further. We know that you can't wait. So, without any delay, let me invite our honorable speaker, Mr. Adnan Sheikh sir, onto the screen to enlighten us with his knowledge and give us some exciting insights into his experience. Good
Yeah.
evening,
Hello,
sir.
Trisha.
Yeah,
Good
it's such
evening.
an honor to listen to you on this fine evening. Firstly, sir, can you please introduce yourself to our audience?
Yeah. So my name is Adnan Shaikh. I have completed my electronics and telecommunication engineering. Later, then I have done my internship at Linux for Informatics Limited, Jaipur, as a Google Cloud engineer, and I have worked in various cloud platforms, basically a public cloud platform. And with that, I've also worked with cloud automation and cloud monitoring. Right now, I am working in Allscripts healthcare industry, which is basically where I have to automate the clouds and monitor all the servers which are related to the health industry over the cloud.
So we feel pleasure talking to you, sir. Sir, when did your interest start growing towards learning cloud computing and working in this field?
While I was working at my previous organization, that is Softcell Technologies, there I realized that we were into the midst of this COVID situation, like March 2020. So that time, we were working remotely. All were forced to work remotely without going to the offices. That time, the issues arise at how and who will maintain the servers that are already located in the offices. That time is the time when I started working with the cloud computing, because that is the time when started to grow in India. Because of the COVID-19, we were supposed to do or maintain the servers and data centers, which was unable by doing the traveling. That is the reason the cloud computing take interest, and I developed an interest in the cloud computing.
So amazing, sir. Many students are eager to know about you, your work, and the history of cloud computing. I bet they will be amazed after learning a lot from you. Okay, sir, you can now take over the session with your presentations.
Yeah, thank you. Cloud computing. So let's start with the cloud computing. First, we'll start what going ahead with the cloud computing. First, let us know what is the cloud computing. In this presentation, I'm going to tell you what is the cloud computing, what is the history of cloud computing, when did it started, and later then we will discuss the architecture that we are looking in the cloud computing, the cloud computing service models and the deployment models, the advantages and the disadvantages of the cloud computing. Moving ahead with what is cloud computing. Basically, cloud computing is an internet-based computing servers which are hosted on the internet, which we can use online. The In simple terms, what we can say is cloud computing is a server which is managed and maintained by some other provider, just similar to what we have in a cable service providers. Similarly, the servers and all the backend and front end data will be managed by the backend, the cloud service providers. And what we have to do is we just have to log into the portal and then use it according to our according to our requirements. So let's see what are the advantage. What is the cloud computing architecture? So first, let us discuss how the cloud computing get into the market. It started back in 19th century, where the concept of VPN started, where we can work remotely, we can take the RDPs of the servers sitting at a different location. That time in 1999, the Salesforce was a company which started a delivery of applications over the web. In 2002, the Amazon Web Services was launched by the Amazon. In 2006, the cloud computing of Google came into the market. In 2008, Eucalyptus, and in 2009, Microsoft Azure has also been launched in the market. Later ahead with that, in the cloud architecture, basically cloud architecture is similar to what we together do in the organization, where several of the programs work together in building of the organization. For example, there are several while we use the Google Chrome, well, wherever you are using the Google Chrome, we see that while we use the multiple tabs, the RAM get consumed a lot much more than expected. What happens here is every tab is using a different process in our taskbar. That is the reason, as many the tabs, the more the process are getting generated. That is the reason the RAM gets used and consumed much faster. That is the reason while you using the Chrome, the things get slower in a laptop whose RAM is slow. That is the reason the architecture of cloud is such a way that front end and the back end works together in building a cloud application. So here we have two. We have a cloud service provider, a cloud platform where the server is hosted. We have an infrastructure that is made up of servers and all the resources, servers and backend servers. Besides that, we have a storage where our data will be stored. So ahead with that, we have two basic components in that. That is front end and the back end. Uh, in the front end, what basically is front end is basically the thing that is seen by the client, what the client sees and what he can interact with the computer. That is known as the front end, where a program is developed and it is given to the for example, the Instagram. What we can as a user can do is we can scroll, we can post the stories. That is known as the front end, which is developed by the programmers. And in the backend is basically where it is hosted. Whenever in any of the laptop, in any of mobile phone, wherever you launch or you launch the Instagram or WhatsApp, you can automatically see the data there. That is the main benefit of using the cloud computing. You can access your data from anywhere in the world, at any device in the world, any electronic device. Just the need is of the internet. Then let us go ahead with the cloud computing. Basically, the cloud computing is divided into two models. That is the service model. What is the service that is provided by the cloud computing is known as the service model, and the deployment model. That is how the cloud is deployed, or which cloud according to a requirement we are using. So in the service model, basically it's SaaS, that is software as a service. Second is the PaaS, that is platform as a service, and third one is IaaS, that is the infrastructure as a service. In the deployment model, there are three different deployment models. First one is the public cloud, which is available for the public. Second is private cloud, which the organizations themselves create a cloud. And third one is the hybrid cloud, which is the mixture of public and the private cloud. So moving ahead, let's start with the service model first. The SaaS, that is software as a service. Software as a service is the capability provided by the consumer to use its provider application running on the cloud infrastructure. That is a web-based mail application such as a Gmail we use Skype, we use Instagram, we use Netflix. These are all SaaS. These are the types of SaaS examples. And in order to control all the infrastructure, including network, servers, everything, you don't have to manage anything. Everything is managed by the cloud provider itself. This is the best example, or Netflix and iCloud, Snapchat, whatever we use, wherever we use. We can just a single login and you are available with all the data and storage, all the data stored in the Snapchat and Instagram in one go. Going ahead with the PaaS, that is platform as a service. In platform as a service, it gives you a platform where you can install or deploy your data. That is where the Instagram is installed, or where the web WhatsApp or the Google or the Skype that is installed. The best example in the cloud for the PaaS is Windows Azure, the Google App Engine, and the AWS Beanstalk. So further ahead with the IaaS. Now, IaaS, this is the service which was developed later in the 2008 2009, which came into existence, and this is the only service which tremendously increased the demand of cloud computing. In this, what this is completely based on the infrastructure. The infrastructure as a service is completely based on the backend of the application. That is the server, the network devices, and the storage devices, the operating system, the firewalls. Everything comes under the infrastructure as a service. You can use as per your demands. That is, this service itself has increased the entrepreneurship in India due to the digitization of the it is a service which gives you all the facilities available, and also gives you up to your use. We in the cloud computing are known as a tenant. We are only charged for what we use. So here the infrastructure as a service, it gives you all the facilities which are at the back end of the cloud. That is at the back end. That is the servers, network devices, and firewalls. The best example for the infrastructure as a service is Amazon EC2, which provides you computing services, which is also known as Elastic Cloud Compute, GoGrid, Island, Rackspace, Google Compute Engine. These are all the examples of infrastructure as a service. Moving ahead with the deployment models. So there are three deployment models in the cloud computing. First one is the public cloud, second is the private cloud, and the third one is basically the hybrid cloud, which is the combination of public cloud and private cloud. First, starting with the public cloud. The public cloud is a general cloud that is available for the end user, right from the students who know what is cloud computing to the enterprises. Everyone is using the public cloud. All the applications that we use day to day, be it Skype, be it WhatsApp, be it Instagram, everyone is using the public cloud. Rare customers who are much more concerned about their data, they focus mainly on the private cloud. Now, starting with the public cloud, we have this model. We have several cloud service providers. The leading ones is Amazon, that is provided by the Amazon AWS, that is Amazon Web Service. Second one is the Microsoft, which has the cloud named as Azure. The third one is a Google. The Google provides its own cloud named as a GCP, Google Cloud Platform. In WhatsApp, in Netflix mainly use the AWS. Netflix is completely based on AWS, whereas Instagram, Hotstar, Uber, these are the companies which are built completely on the public cloud, that is the AWS. The Twitter is built on the GCP, that is the Google Cloud. Even the iCloud, all the Mac users and the iPhone users, they have to be known that the service model that is used, or the deployment model of the iCloud, is on the public cloud. For the storage of the data, they use GCP, whereas to encrypt their iOS, it is completely based on the Azure and AWS. So this is what public cloud is used right from the student. It has a 1 year of subscription, which is free, and you have a specific limit of the every resources that is available, every service that is available. You get a specific resource. In order to start with cloud computing, the public cloud platform is the best platform where you can start with. Basically, AWS is the best platform where you can start going ahead with the cloud computing thing. There are several certifications where you can start with. First, you can in order to start with cloud computing, that is what I would say, is start with networking first, and then go ahead with the cloud computing. And to start with the cloud computing, the best starting point is the Amazon AWS. It is simple to use, it is easy to understand, and quite much cheaper than all the other clouds. That is the reason Amazon is the leading cloud service provider. Ahead with the private cloud. So now the private cloud is basically the cloud. The companies, the enterprises which use private cloud is mostly they are banks, because much more concerned about the data of the consumers. That is the reason private cloud came into existence. The best example of the private cloud is the VMware, the OpenStack. These are most known or most used cloud. Uh, Cloud is basically what, in private cloud they have their own data centers. They manage their own data centers, be it all the resources, all the services. That is completely managed by the party itself or a third party is hired in order to maintain their data centers. So that while the data and security, which is that concerning the data for the companies that are more concerned with the data, they go ahead with the private cloud. Now the third that we have introduced is the hybrid cloud. The introduction of the hybrid cloud came into existence because that we were facing some issues with the private cloud and the public cloud. So there were some resources which were cheaper if we used it in the private cloud, and there were some resources which were easier or cheaper while we use the public cloud. So in order to use those cheaper resources and combine those resources, this hybrid cloud came into existence. The hybrid cloud is the composition of two or more clouds, two public clouds or two private clouds is known as the hybrid cloud. The advantage of the hybrid cloud is the bound and the unique entities, that is the services that we can use together of both the features of both the clouds that we can use together. It increases the flexibility of the computing. The augmented a traditional private cloud with the resource of public cloud can be used to manage any unexpected surges in the workload. So further ahead, let's discuss the advantages of the cloud computing. So the first advantage, whatever we do in the COVID, as we were sitting back at our homes, we were not allowed to travel. The best advantage that came is the maintenance. That you don't have to maintain any kind of servers or any kind of or the update. Anything that we have to do manually was done by the cloud service provider. You just have to execute a command here, and everything will be done. Best one was it never, in case of any natural calamities or anything, it does, you will always get an assistance, you will always have a backup. The data is secured, you will have a productivity will increase. There is no IT maintenance cost, as the cost will be as the maintenance will be done by the cloud service provider itself. As it's offsite storage, so in case of natural calamities, you won't lose any kind of data, and you can have a productivity anywhere, such as you have just a laptop and an internet connection. You can easily you can access your data from anywhere in the world. You have a easily upgraded. It can be upgraded easily just with a enter or a command. You can just upgrade it anywhere. And the best part is you pay as per your use. If you're using less, you have to pay less, and if you think that your customers are increasing accordingly, you have to pay more. So as and when, if you think that your website that you have made is not working fine and you have been getting the proper response, that is the time when you can just opt out of it. You won't have to do much of the investment into the servers and in order to host your website. And the best part is it's always up, it never goes down. In case of any maintenance, you are always having a backup server available, so your site never goes down. But also with the benefit there comes the disadvantages. So the disadvantages of the cloud computing are, we have to be dependent on the cloud service provider. Everything we have to be compromising with our data. We have to take a risk that we have to trust the cloud service provider. But in this case, the cloud service provider are much more concerned about the security services. That is, in case of security, they don't manage or they don't make any excuses, because the data that is stored is reliable to the company. That is the reason we have several compliances which monitors or under which we have to work. Then we have to take a risk, as we are working from the remote servers. There has to be a constant internet connection. That is the main fundamental that we have to use. We have to have a constant internet connection in order to access those servers. And the migration issues, that once you are using the on-premise and now you have decided to go to the cloud computing, you will face the migration issues. There is something and all those things. Um, so in a conclusion, so while cloud computing is really a great, and you will probably already using it, most of them, the business and the enterprise have grown tremendously by the use of cloud computing. But also there are some pros and also some cons. So, and the best part is cloud computing is really cheap way for the companies in order to use the resources with scalability, and it's much better way to spread your resources as and when required, and it becomes easier to access them from any destination or anywhere in the world. Thank you. That is all for. So, any questions as of now?
So we will go with the Q&A session afterwards. So thank you for the presentation, sir. It was very instructive. There are many laws mentioned very explicitly all over the slides. Thank you for such an amazing information you gave us today. So, okay, viewers, it's time for the quiz to boost your basic knowledge. And here,
Hello viewers, this is Reina Mohammed here. Hope you guys are waiting for the quiz, right? Yeah, let's start to know who is the fastest first. So here is your first question. What does the word cloud represent as a cloud computing? Haha, question kind of funny. Okay, first option is A, internet, B, wireless, C, data, D, disk. Come on guys, give it a try. Today we got an amazing session. So as everyone can answer this silly question, it's so easy to try. So the answer is A, internet. Let's see who answered the first. Yeah, Kishan. Kishan answered that first. Okay, so we are going on to the second question. Which of the following are the features of cloud computing? Option A, security. Option B, availability. Option C, large network access. Option D, all of them mentioned. I will repeat the question again. Which of the following are the features of cloud computing? Let's see who is coming. So the answering to this question. Okay, here comes the winner, Varsha K. Yeah, all of them mentioned. This is the correct answer. So the third question, state whether true or false. Is Google Docs a type of cloud computing? A, true, B, false. Come on guys, give it a try. I've done how many true or false questions. Just give it a try guys. Let's see who's coming first. Okay, again, Kishan. Yeah, the answer is correct. A, true. Yeah, Kishan is on the track. Okay, so the fourth question is, which of the following is the most important area of learning cloud computing? Okay, the first option is availability, B, storage, C, security, D, all of mentioned. This is the second last question, guys. Just try it. Someone come and read the question. We have won just two questions for now. Question again. Okay, the correct option is C, security. So anyone didn't get a chance from first, this is the last question this week from the quiz part. AWS, option B Cloudera, option C Azure, and option D all of mentioned. This is the last quiz question of this week. Yeah, let's see. Is anyone there to break Christian's record? No, anyone has already won the three. Option A. So who answered? So the correct answer is A, AWS. Thank you so much for taking part in the quiz. That was really nice. Thank you.
The quiz was lit. Those basics might rise a zeal to start and explore more. Now the chat is yours. Start posting your questions to get them answered by the guest. As we can see, many questions are popping up. Okay, sir, shall we start taking out their questions from the live chat?
Yeah, sure.
Can we have the first question? Okay, so the first question is by Rajeshwari. So, what skills are required to excel in this field?
The first skill that I would suggest is first focus on the networking. That is, start with the basic fundamentals of networking and how the configurations work. The start with most and best thing is start with the Linux. Start with working with the Linux environment and install Linux operating system in your computers or the VMs and start working with Linux. Then go ahead with the certifications. All the certifications are all the cloud service providers give you the certifications. Start with the if you want to excel your skills into the Azure, that is Microsoft. The leading one is the AWS. So in order to start with AWS, start with the cloud solution architect. There is a certification which is divided into the three parts, that is the associate, the professional, and the expert. The first one, start with cloud solution architect if you want to start with the Amazon, and if you are focusing on the Azure, then start with the Azure fundamentals. And for the GCP, that is the Google Cloud, you have the practice Google Cloud certification, the practice, and then you have the administrator, the associate level, the professional level, and the experience level. But as of now, if you are working with the Linux, that would be great. The Linux is everything.
Okay. Thank you so much, sir, for answering the question. Can we have the next question, please? Okay, sir. So the next question is, what is utility computing? What is the usage of utility computing?
So utility computing is basically the service provided or the framework that we are using. Or utility computing, we can say that it is the provisioning model that we are using into the implementation of the cloud computing. So be it infrastructure management or the as per the needs of the customer, we go ahead with the computing models. As I discussed, that is the different models in the cloud computing, the multitasking or the multi-tenancy or the multi-tiering. This all comes into the utility computing. So it is a part of the cloud computing.
Okay, thank you, sir. Sir, your camera is not working, I guess.
I can see it here. Mm,
Uh, Actually, you're not visible in the screen. Sir, I would ask you to rejoin, and till then, the audience, please just wait. Our guest will join us shortly. You can write all your questions in the chat box. I encourage all the audience, please just wait for a moment. Our guest will join us shortly. Till then, drop in all your questions and be patient for a while.
yeah,
Okay,
is it fine now?
yes, so you're visible now.
Yeah, go
So,
ahead with the another question.
okay, so can we have the next question on the screen? Okay, so the question is from Tejas. Mention what is a hypervisor in cloud computing and its types.
Hypervisor in cloud computing. Generally, hypervisor is a part. Mm, Generally, hypervisor in IBM cloud it is used. A hypervisor is a form of virtualization, but this technique is provided or taken care by the service provider itself. You don't have to check the hypervisor that is used, but mostly it's the VMware. So it makes the virtual environment and all those things. So this part of the this section is taken care by the cloud provider itself.
Okay, sir. Thank you for the answer. Can we move on to the next question? Okay, so we have the next question, sir. It's from Dattaria, and the question is, what are the platforms used for large-scale cloud computing?
Large scale cloud computing, can you just much be more specific about large scale? What do you mean? Are you talking about the big data analytics, or large scale? The cloud computing itself is a large scale. You have a unlimited scalability according to your uses, so you can go up to 10241 TB or more than that in cloud computing. So there is no limitations in the cloud computing. That is the reason we use cloud computing, because you can upscale or downscale as per your needs. So it has an auto scaling thing. So there is nothing as large scale or a small scale. You have no limitations in the cloud computing as such.
Thank you so much, sir, for the
and if
answer.
and if we are talking about the big data, then there are different services that are available in the cloud computing, several cloud computing platforms, if we are talking about the data. So there's no limitations as such.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much. Okay, so we have the next question, and the question is, what are some large cloud providers and databases?
The some As I said, the large cloud service providers are at the leading place. We have Amazon, and then we have Azure, then we have Google Cloud Computing. These are the most or the leaders of the cloud computing. Almost everyone and whole world is using Amazon. Some are using those are much reliable, or those are the partners of the Microsoft, such as the TCS and my own company. We use Azure as a cloud platform, but leading is the Amazon. Then comes the Azure, then comes the GCP. We have much more clouds assets such as IBM. We have Oracle Cloud, but those are not much used as compared to these three clouds. And the database, we have several database services available itself in the cloud computing: the MySQL, the PGSQL, the Aurora, and the now the latest thing that we have that is invented is NoSQL. This is also leading SQL database. Much of them are using the Yuga Byte, and all those are the good database that we are currently using in the market.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much for the answer. Uh, our next question is, what do you mean by VPN and what does it contain?
VPN is virtual private network. It is basically related to the networking concept, and where we can connect to our remote PC using our Wi-Fi. So what we does is, in order to prevent or in order to secure our internet, what we do is we create a central server, or a central gateway through which every user, as it at our homes, as we are working from home situation, what we do is we connect to the organization servers through our public Wi-Fi. What happens is a circle is created where a firewall is created, that is a virtual private network. A network is created where only a specific users have the access in order to enter the premises of the servers. Or you create a virtual networking, or a virtual firewall, or you can say a virtual security guard for your servers, and every user is given us credentials. Only those users can enter using the public Wi-Fi. You have to enter the private Wi-Fi. So it is a gateway between the public world and the private world.
Thank you so much, sir. That was really informative. Can we have the next question? Okay, sir. The next question is, for a means of transport in the cloud, how can you secure your data?
Means of transport, the data is secured using have their own firewalls, or they have, as I said, they also have their internal private network. And all the securities, or all the security purpose, we have a compliance for all the industries. Such as, if we talk about the healthcare industry, we have the HIPAA protocol. And everything has a governance, such as if our income, in order to monitor or keep a track on our income, we have the IT department, that is the income tax department. Similarly, in the IT world, we have the compliances. So every company has to work under those compliances to in order to have a security reasons. So all the things are such as PCI protocol. We use HIPAA policy, we use FISMA, we use several different compliances based on the use of the company, that which company you are working with. Mostly, as I work in the healthcare industry, we work under the HIPAA, that comes as healthcare, that is the health protocol. So these are the secure. So you have to there is a governance body which monitor and secure the data. So that is how the data is secured in the cloud computing. And also we have, while we design the infrastructure, mostly the solution architect, what they do is they have already a security group, that is known as, in Amazon we have a security group, which is a virtual firewall. We make the rules, that is the inbound rule or the outbound rules, which only specific IPs or the specific set of IP will be entered in those premises. This is how we can secure our data from other attacks.
Okay, thank you so much, sir. That was really informative. Can we move on to the next question? So the next question is, sir, what are the benefits of cloud computing?
As I have already discussed in my slides, so the benefits of cloud computing is scalable, and as per our use, if you think, or you have, for example, if you have created a website and you want to host it, for example, you create WhatsApp was created. Now you want it to be known to the whole world. So what you do is you take a server on rent, rather than, you don't have so much capital in order to invest in the servers, because servers are mostly a costly thing, and you have to maintain, you have to make a secure room and also a secure firewalls, and you can't just buy a server, you have to purchase a firewall in order to host it. What you can do is, but you don't know will it work or your application won't work. So what we can do is we can rent it, we can rent a server, and we can rent it. And if you think your customers are increasing, and as per your increasing demands, you can increase the server's capacity, such as its storage or its computing, resources, you can increase it. And if you think that your website is a fail and you cannot go ahead with that, you can directly terminate your subscription. So what will happen is your cost is reduced and your scalability is also increased. And the best part you get is it's always on. You just want a laptop or a electronic media and an internet connection. You can access it from anywhere in the world. You don't have to think of what is going on at the back end. That is, who is taking care of the servers, who is taking care of the networking devices. If you are a programming, there are various, now the technology has increased or made in demand, that now the new architecture is came into the market, that is the serverless architecture. What happens here is you are just given a software or you are just given a UI where you can just interact with it. The best example is Google Colab. What we use, if someone has used Google Colab for programming, you get a VM. It is basically a VM. If you put on the Google Colab, you will get a VM. But the backend, you can just program it and you will get a CPU and a RAM and a storage device. But this will be managed by the cloud service provider itself. You don't have to see what kind of RAM we are using, what kind of storage we are using, and these all things we get into the cloud computing. So these are some of the benefits of the cloud computing. You get disaster management. Your data is always on. You don't get a lag. So these are the benefits of cloud computing.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for the answer. So the next question is, what is the Azure Active Directory service?
So first, let me tell you the what is Active Directory. What happens is all are using the computers. While we switch on the computer, what happens is we have to enter a login name. So what happens is there are n number of servers while we work into an organizations. So we cannot go into every server. If I, as Adnan Sheikh, want to access a specific servers, now in a data center there are more than thousands of servers. I cannot go to every server and make my user there. So that whenever I have to access a specific server, I have to go ahead and make my user there. And whenever I leave the company will have to go into every server and remove my username. So what happens is we have created an Active Directory or a central server, and there we create a user, and all the other servers are connected to that central server. So what happens is once you create a user here, it will automatically be reflected into replicated into all the servers. So that is the reason Active Directory is used. And Azure Active Directory is a service which is an Active Directory for the Azure cloud. So this is similar to that. It's just that it's Azure Active Directory. And in AWS, if you are working with your servers are hosted on AWS, use Route 53. This is the Active Directory service provided by the AWS. So similarly, the Active Directory service, the fundamentals are same. Just the thing is, the name has changed. The uses is also the same. That is the reason I have told you that first we have to study the networking in order to go into the cloud world. So once you are good with networking, you just have to play with the names. That is the thing.
Uh, Thank you so much, sir, for the answer. The next question is, what is the difference between scalability and elasticity?
Scalability and elasticity. So scalability, what we does is we can the scalability is mostly we can increase if you have a single computer. What you do in order to make it scaling. Let's talk with about scalability. In scalability, what we does, if you have a n number of users and your website, for example, you we take a YouTube. Now n number of users are logging or using the YouTube. What happens is in that case the broadband connection or the our bandwidth get choked up. In auto scaling, what we do is we create several servers and your traffic is distributed in those servers. So this is known as the scalability. And elasticity is you have a single computer, and as per your need, you have 512 GB of hard disk, and then you have you're not fulfilling it. It is not fulfilling your demand. So what you do is you increase the hard disk. That is, you put it into 1 TB, or if you are a programmer and your laptop have 4 GB RAM, what you do is you increase it into 8 GB. So this is known as elasticity. What we do is we increase the resources. So increasing of resources is elasticity, and increasing of servers or the uh, devices is known as scalability.
Thank you, sir. That was really informative. Moving on to our next question. Um, It's Ajay's question, and he says, "Sir, can you tell us what kind of problems you faced in this field while studying?"
So in this, I was much more afraid of that black screen that comes in the Linux. So in order to work with those things, I have faced several issues, and the main issue that I have faced is we are not much more exposed to what we have to do in the future. So as and when we face the challenges, or you see that this is the problem, that time what happens is you go ahead with that. So mostly the problem that I have faced is the good mentor. We haven't got a good mentor in order to direct where we have to go, and in this field there was no such a problem that you face. For the easy access, we have internet and we have YouTube, so you get easily, you can study anything anywhere in the world.
Thank you so much, sir. Moving on to our next question. So, sir, it's Sushmita's question, and the question is, what's the best resources to learn cloud computing?
As I said, the best resource was as where I learned, that is the Linux informatics. Or you can just go ahead with the free subscription that we get for the 1 year. That is for the Amazon. We have some limitations, so go ahead with that. I also will share if I can. There are several articles or blogs on my LinkedIn where I have detailed posted that how you should start with the cloud computing and how you can uh, basic project that you can make by using the cloud computing.
Thank you, sir. That was really helpful. Moving on to our next question, it's by Tirthankar, and his question is, what is OpenStack and what is Memcached, and why should we use it?
So OpenStack is basically a cloud that is used by the that is a private cloud that is used by the provided by the Red Hat. So Red Hat provides this cloud for the enterprises, and OpenStack is basically a private cloud. It is an example of private cloud. It is provided. The owner of OpenStack is the Red Hat, and Memcache. So Memcached is a memory object. See, in the memory, while we discuss about the memory, what we are taught is one is the temporary memory and other is the persistent memory. That is the permanent memory. But while we talk about the permanent memory, there are three types of memory that are available. One is the object, one is the block storage, and another is the file storage. So Memcached is the temporary memory or the RAM, or it is basically a cached data. So meme cache is one of the best example, and why we use it is, now you do in case I have a website, for giving you an example, I have a website. Now what I have done is I've updated it. Now, I want it to be delivered at a specific network. Now I am sitting in Mumbai and I want it to be delivered at USA. What happens is, whenever and my servers are hosted in Mumbai. Now, whenever some person or any person is accessing the my website from the US, he will face some kind of lag. So, what I do is I save my data temporarily uh, in a cached memory in US. So, whenever a US person access that data, he won't face any lag. So temporary storing of data is known as a cache memory. That is the reason in every wherever in every electronic device we have a cache memory which stores a temporary data. So whenever
Thank
you
you.
are using any kind of cache memory, that is where mean cache is used. That is memory cache memory.
Thank you so much, sir. Moving on to our next question. And his question is, sir, what is the role of Redis database in cloud computing?
Redis database is a database is a type of database. So there are, as I said, there are several services, or there are several services providing the database. That is the RDS. RD is a type of service provided by the cloud computing. So Redis is a type. So there are several features that you get. For example, as we use the OS, we have several operating systems. Some have the requirement for Windows operating system. Some have the Linux, and in Linux also we have different flavors. Some demand of Red Hat, some demand of Ubuntu. So similarly, in the database also we have several databases. some demand for MS SQL, some demands for Redis database. So there are several databases in cloud computing, and as per your requirement, you can use those databases.
Thank you so much, sir, for the answer. The next question is how buffer is used for Amazon Web Services and which services are provided by the Windows Azure operating system?
Services provided by the Windows Azure operating system. First thing, Windows Azure is not an operating system. Windows Azure is a cloud, and there are n number of services that are provided by the Windows Azure, be it in the field of IaaS, be in the field of PaaS, be in the field of SaaS. There are several services that are provided by the Azure. The best is Azure has increased its demand in the industry because of its data management system. The people who are working with the data science or working with these computers or the ads, for them Azure is the best, because Azure is easy to use. It is provided by the Microsoft. So Azure has several services, so n number of services are there. And if we talk about the buffer services in Amazon, so there is no buffer. It's just like it is a component which helps you in synchronizing. So there is no buffer thing in Amazon, so it is taken care by the Amazon itself.
Okay, thank you so much, sir. So we have the last question now. And the question is, sir, what is the future scope of cloud computing? Could you please share us the roadmap?
Yeah, sure. So the future scope is cloud computing is, be it in the any field, be you working in the any field, be it in the front end, that is the coding or etc., be in the back end, that is the IoT, AI, ML, anything. So for every service or everything that you use on a computer, every use of a computer, there is a service in the cloud computing. And the best part is you don't have to take care of the management, you don't have to take care of the maintenance. So right now, since 2020, as I said, as we are working remotely, the cloud computing has tremendously increased. Almost all the companies, leading companies, are now migrating to the cloud in order to have a good maintenance, good security, and also cost maintenance. That you, in a low cost, you get a high maintenance and high facilities. And the roadmap, as I said, go ahead with the certification. Start with the networking, Linux, and then go ahead with the various certifications. If you want to work in the Amazon, then go ahead with the Amazon certification, that is Amazon Solution Architect. Then you have the Amazon Administrator. Similarly, for the Azure, we have Azure Fundamentals, Azure Administrator, Azure DevOps Engineer, and for the GCP, we have Google Practitioner, we have Google Administrator, Associate, Practitioner, Associate, profe- uh, Professional, and the Expert. So these are the certifications. So try to crack these certifications, as these are the global certifications. This will enhance your resume. This will be a creamy layer on your resume.
Thank you so much, sir, for answering all the questions. And with this, we have reached the end of today's session, sir. How is your feeling about our interaction for almost an hour today, sir?
It was great, and I am quite amazed to see that youngsters like you are providing a good mentorship to the students, which we haven't got. So this is a great plan in order to go ahead with mentoring the students, showing them a roadway where they can lead their life to. And in the COVID, as we all have seen, that the IT is the only industry which wasn't affected in this COVID. So in order to know where to go is more important rather than just going ahead. So it was, I was, when I got the message from you guys, I was amazed that a group of students are doing this. I'm quite happy to see all these things. And thank you for calling me on this and making me serve you guys by any means.
Thank you so much, sir. I want to thank you again on behalf of my whole team for accepting our invitation and showing us insights into your experience. This feels great. So great talking to you, sir. Best of luck in all your future endeavors. Thank you so much once again. Okay. That's it for the evening, viewers. If you are helped out by this interview, do join us and let's go tech together. Many such sessions are coming up. Until then, stay tuned. This is me, Triyasha Roy, signing off. Thank you and have a great day.